Hello and welcome to the Forces Sports Show, your weekly roundup of the best action and biggest stories from across the services, coming up in the next half hour. Too hot to handle. The cadets at Sandhurst and the Army's women claim big wins on the rugby pitch. Firing on all cylinders. The Army's netball team proved too good in the Inter-Services Championship. Heated exchanges. Army and Navy boxers do battle for the bragging rights in Scotland. We start with rugby, where the Royal Military Academy Sandhurst enjoyed a big victory against their American counterparts, West Point. The British Army officer cadets saw off the touring side from New York by 40 points to 14. Known as the Black Knights, the West Point rugby side were put to the sword at Sandhurst as the Royal Military Academy dominated their United States visitors. A nicely worked line-out led to the first try of the match as Max Brewer flopped in for an unconverted score. A West Point rugby tour to the UK happens about once a decade. Having already drawn with the students of Oxford University, the players from across the pond were looking for their first win of the tour. Unfortunately for them, Sandhurst were still licking their wounds after losing at the semi-final stage of the Army Cup, and this was their chance to banish their rugby blues. Alex Marsh darted over for a converted try and a 12-0 half-time lead. With West Point looking to break through the Sandhurst defence, they must have felt it wasn't going to be their day when Rob Harnby picked off a pass to gallop his way upfield for a converted try. The visitors did eventually find a way through to the try line. A combination of heavyweights from their pack, including Tony Smith and Nathan Brooks, made sure they didn't come away empty-handed. RMAS immediately went on the attack. Having marched their way up the pitch, they began to exploit holes in the West Point defence. Harnby appeared to be heading for his second try. He was hauled down short of the line, however, and in doing so, the Black Knights conceded a penalty. Sandhurst fly-half Rob Smith remained alert, and his crossfield kick fell perfectly for Maclaurin to push them 33 points to 7 up. Both sides added to their tally before the end. Having brushed aside Smith, Max Sackett scooted home for a converted try. Smith redeemed himself moments later, collecting a wayward pass. He prodded the ball forward for his teammates to run onto, with Marsh bagging his second try in the 40 points to 14 win, ending Sandhurst's season on a high after defeat in the Army Cup.
We played the Royal Welsh and they obviously played extremely well and had a very good team. But it's nice to have a chance to play some fellow officer cadets, which was really good. And yeah, to finish the season on a high is absolutely fantastic.
Well, the Army remain the team to beat in Forces netball. They saw off the challenge of the RAF and the Navy to win the Inter-Services Championship. Carl Dixon reports from RAF Cosford.
A win against the Navy earlier in the week meant victory against the RAF on the final day would seal another year of dominance for the Army. But before the game, both sets of players were cheering in force as the Army took the Masters title. With one trophy down, it was time to settle the main event, and for the RAF, it was a shaky start. Celtic Dragons pair Ellie Nawali and Dee Bolokaro were in full flow, giving the Army an early lead. They continued to run riot, Bolokaro scoring here to put the Army further ahead. The RAF knew they had to do something quickly, and a change in the first quarter kept them in the match. Ashley Davies was called upon, and the attacking player was quick to make her mark on the game. It was a pressurised situation for the RAF. For every time they'd go close, the Army would go at the other end to score. Their ruthlessness meant they had a commanding lead at the halfway stage, with the RAF on the wrong end of a 35-7 scoreline. The second half continued in the same pattern. Bolokaro and Nawali were running the show with goal after goal after goal. The Air Force had a late rally, but it was never going to be enough. A 61-16 final score meant success for the Army, and another year of frustration for the RAF and the Navy.
The Navy and Army clashed in the ring for the annual HMS Neptune Boxing Night at Faz Lane Naval Base. The senior service were hoping to end a 4-year losing streak. David McCann was watching.
Inter-service pride was at stake as some of the best boxing talent the military has to offer in Scotland took to the ring. Able seaman Lee Henderson took on rifleman Kyle Dunlop in a light heavyweight bout. Both fighters enjoyed good spells as the match went the distance. But it was the Army that would chalk up the first win of the night, with rifleman Dunlop winning on points.
It was feeling good, yeah. It was my first bout, so it was good. So I come out strong, and during the end I started tiring out. I was a bit tired by the end, but it was a good fight.
Marine Harry Davidson aimed to even the score as he took on rifleman Jake Welsh Davison at light middleweight. Davidson showed his experience against the young rifleman with a dominant display in the ring. Welsh Davison did enough to take the bout the distance, but the judges gave the fight to the Marine by a unanimous decision to level things on the night.
I felt I won every round. I felt I had too much for the kid. He wasn't as fit as me. I've been training a lot for this fight, been working a lot of stuff with my coaches.
The deciding bout pitted heavyweights leading hand Robbie Watson against Lance Corporal Ipinay Karuria. With the result on a knife edge, Watson attempted to bully his opponent into the corner, but the Lance Corporal's footwork saw him evade the sailor's jabs in a tense match that again went the full distance.
Red corner, Lance Corporal Karuria.
The fight to Karuria by a unanimous decision.
We offer people the opportunity not just to work hard, but also to play hard. Boxing is a real epitome of the core values and ethos we have. It's about fitness, commitment, and bravery, really.
So it was another defeat for the Navy at HMS Neptune, with the Army retaining the bragging rights in Scotland for another year.
1972 was the last time the Royal Air Force held the Inter-Services Boxing Crown, but after having 3 finalists and 2 champions last year, the team are full of confidence this time around. The RAF Boxers are at their training camp in Tenerife, as Kath Brazier reports.
In 2015, the RAF started taking their elite boxers abroad again, and these overseas training camps have seen a massive improvement in their performance.
September 2015 we came out to this exact facility for our first overseas training camp in, I believe it was 10 years. So we've gone full circle, and the development along the way has been phenomenal.
Come on.
I honestly believe that if the final preparations go smoothly, we will definitely be in the running for 3 or 4 wins on the UK Armed Forces Championship finals night.
As well as sparring in the ring, the boys have made the most of conditions with running some training sessions outside. More than anything, it's important they work as a team.
We've got a hell of a good group of boys out here with us, and all different levels of experience. Most of us are elite boys, some having like 60, 70 bouts. So that for us to all work together and get the sparring in together, go out running together, and just general chit chat about boxing, it's really good for us.
And alongside the elite boxers are a number of development athletes looking to make the step up.
I know I've got the skill, I've got the ability to win the UCAFs. It's just whether being out of boxing on my training for a little bit, just going to see how this camp goes. I think every boxer knows when they're ready or not. You all know deep down when you get in that ring whether you could have done more, whether you could have done less in the build up to it. So I think every boxer knows on prep whether they're ready or not, and I'm looking for that moment this week.
Former Junior England Amateur Boxing semi-finalist and 2018 Forces Lightweight Champion SAC Kieran Bailey will captain the Light Blues this year. They face off against the Royal Navy and the Army at the end of this month.
The Army women's rugby players sent out a message ahead of the Inter-Services Championship by thumping international opposition. In their first ever meeting with Sweden, they cruised to victory by 40 points to 3 in Aldershot. The British Army bounced back from last month's defeat to England women under-20s with this 6-try hammering over Sweden. The Forces side took the lead when Jade Mullins scooted in for an unconverted try with quarter of an hour played. The Scandinavians have enjoyed success on the Sevens circuit, and although many of their leading players feature for top club sides in the UK, they were swept aside in this encounter as Army skipper Gemma Rowland darted over for a converted try to put the Army 12-0 up. Sweden were using this as a warm-up fixture ahead of their season, but they were caught cold when Lou Dodd decided to tap and go from a penalty to crash over for a converted try and 19-0 half-time lead. Dodd doubled her try account minutes after the break, ghosting past her opposite number to dot down for another converted effort. Emma Skargelin successfully landed a penalty, but it was the only time Sweden troubled the scorers. The women in red wasted little time taking the ball back towards the visitors' line. Beth Dainton had the easy task of adding try number 5 and a 33 points to 3 lead. Ellie Gatlin rounded off the scoring for the home side. She barged over as the Army enjoyed a convincing victory, the perfect result for them as they continued their preparations for the Inter-Services Championship.
Obviously, we've had a few tough oppositions building into this. Losing our last couple of games kind of dents your confidence a bit, but we've got a brand new team, brand new management, and we're putting in place a lot of new structures. So it's great to see us building that platform now towards Inter-Services.
And of course, players that haven't been around much this season are coming back, and I include yourself in that. So, great for you to get 80 minutes under the belt. Yeah,
absolutely. We've had a couple of girls away on operations, obviously being a soldier first, and a couple of doing return to play after being out with injury. So it's great to see our squad coming back to full strength and girls getting those minutes under their belts in a red jersey.
A former Royal Marine who lost his leg in an accident has set a new world record for rowing solo and unsupported across the Atlantic. Lee Spencer completed the crossing in 60 days, breaking the able-bodied record for the route by 36 days. Amy Wiltshire reports.
The face of sheer joy as Lee Spencer came to the end of an exhausting journey. Setting off on the 3,800-mile trip from Portugal on the 9th of January, he completed the crossing in 60 days to become the first disabled person to row from continent to continent and broke the able-bodied record for the route by 36 days.
I didn't allow myself to think that I was going to be completing it until I could literally see the finish line, because the whole time you're out there, you're only ever one big wave away from complete disaster. So absolute relief and the ability to just relax.
Lee, who served in the armed forces for 24 years, is no stranger to the Atlantic. In 2015, he took part in the Talisker Whisky Atlantic Challenge as part of a 4-man team. Now, in his solo attempt, he's raised money for the Royal Marines charity and the Endeavour Fund and is grateful for all the support he's had.
Being told what was happening with people rowing and posting videos of themselves rowing, people donating, it keeps you going, because that's the reason why I set off doing it. And there's nothing worse than going out there and rowing and no one cares.
But it's not all been plain sailing.
The most difficult point for me for the whole row was being scared on your own. There was times when I was looking at the sea thinking, oh, I'm not enjoying this, with the big, massive waves. And if there was someone else there, then you bounce off each other, and it's something that you kind of take for granted. Certainly from a forces background where team is everything.
Despite losing a leg in January 2014, the aim of this trip was to prove that no one should be defined by disability, and he's certainly done that.
A car which will develop new racing drivers from the armed forces has had its first test runs at Brands Hatch. The BMW one was rebuilt for races by RAF engineers and apprentices. John Knighton went to see the crews preparing for the new season.
Brands Hatch, one of the iconic centres of British motorsport and an ideal place for the newest addition to the Armed Forces team to be put through its paces. It's only a few weeks since this BMW was transformed at the Autosport show from a road car to a race vehicle. For Matt Beach, who spent the last couple of years behind the scenes, this is a brilliant opportunity, which he means to grasp with both hands.
Yeah, absolutely fantastic. I never thought I'd get the opportunity to do something like this, so it's a fantastic chance to get into the car for a novice season in the Armed Forces Race Challenge, and to be tutored through all the different steps that are required to get there.
Today is also an opportunity for the other Forces drivers who will be taking part in this year's Armed Forces Challenge to get their cars track ready. The 2019 Armed Forces Challenge will begin here at Brands Hatch in just over a month's time. So what better opportunity for the Forces drivers and their cars to put them through their paces and blow the cobwebs away for the first time this year. Last year's Forces champion Ed McKean's playing a big part in mentoring Matt Beach as he steers his opening laps in the new car. He's looking forward to defending his title in what appears to be an expanding championship.
Obviously the Armed Forces Race Challenge Championship is a little bit special. We are all predominantly either serving members or veterans. So there's a degree of camaraderie there, and I think that service ethos does bleed across into that, and people want a part of it.
This project has been all about bringing motorsport together with recruitment, engineering and science. For this novice driver, the BMW is not the fastest car on the grid by any means. This year, Matt will not only be competing in the Armed Forces Challenge, he's also in the special BMW class of identical cars, the 116 Championship.
We shouldn't be getting into too much trouble. Essentially, it's a good platform to learn the lines, learn the racecraft and learn the skill, and just build from there. But the car's great under brakes, handles really well, it's been set up brilliantly, and we've got lots of people around to give good advice on how to improve.
Matt Beach hopes to develop his own car after this novice season, which will then free up the seat for another driver to take up the challenge in 2020.
Now to a Gulf War veteran who's had 2 strokes but is gearing up for his 4th marathon. John Owens says his passion for running helped him deal with post-traumatic stress disorder. The death of a friend and former comrade saw him take on an epic charity fundraising effort. David McCann went to meet him.
John Owens has always had a passion for running. And it's this passion, he says, has helped him in his recovery after being medically discharged from the army. He suffered his first stroke in his early 20s without realising it and carried on with the Royal Highland Fusiliers. It was only when he suffered his second stroke over a decade later he realised his military career was over.
It felt kind of surreal. Having been medically discharged, it was pretty much the end of what I'd known, essentially. And still trying to comprehend in my mind, one, that I'd overcame an illness, a serious illness, and 2, that I had to kind of find some way to move forward.
John's best friend and former comrade took his own life in 2016. And John credits the focus on aiming to run 1,000 miles in the year in memory of his friend helped him from falling victim to his own post-traumatic stress disorder.
I do recall being in his funeral in the back of the car looking out, and I could see his coffin and the shine of our battalion's cap badge on his coffin. I thought, that's a sign I'm going to run, you know, and this is what he would have wanted me. He wouldn't have wanted me just to go back into a pit of despair. So yeah, I decided to come up with Davies Run, which was to run over 1,000 miles in the space of a year, which I done successfully.
John's running has also helped raise vital funds for 2 charities that are very close to him. Help for Heroes and Chest, Heart and Stroke Scotland played a vital part in his recovery, and he's returned the favour by raising money through his running challenges. John's also received a nomination for this year's Soldiering On Awards.
Following Davies Run, there was a few awards that I received locally from Ayrshire Harriers and from other running clubs, from Troon Tortoises, and this one kind of tops up which has been personally a very successful few years, but in hindsight, it's kind of shaping me to be the man I am today.
After 24 years' service, facing life after the army was a daunting prospect for John. but turning to a long-held passion has helped him focus and has his sights set firmly on goals ahead.
And that is it for this week. Don't forget you can see all the action as we get it on forces.net and this show and more on YouTube. Next time we'll bring you the winners from the UK Armed Forces Sports Awards. We'll leave you with some of the nominees in action. Bye for now.